USADA has just made a shock announcement that the UFC will not be re-upping their contract for 2024. Now, if you don't know who USADA is, they're the United States Anti-Doping Agency. They're contracted by the UFC to do all their drug testing for their fighters. Now, why the decision from the UFC to not renew their contract with USADA is what we'll be discussing today. So just to give a little backstory, the UFC and USADA started working together in 2015 after they noticed a rampant PED use in their promotion. Just take a look at guys like Vitor Belfort, Alistair Overeem, and Johnny Hendricks before and after USADA, and you'll notice a massive difference. Now, was testing beneficial for the officiality of the sport? Absolutely, and the UFC wholeheartedly agrees. Is USADA 100% effective at catching people who are taking banned substances? Unfortunately, no. If you want to know how fighters like Conor McGregor got around the USADA testing system, click the card in the upper right hand corner right now. But back to the USADA fallout. Throughout their partnership, the UFC noticed that USADA sometimes overstepped in terms of their dominion over the testing, such as the time when they went to test Paulo Costa at 6 a.m. on the same day as UFC 278 weigh-ins, or when they came knocking at Alexander Volkanovski's door at 6 a.m. right ahead of his title fight rematch versus Max Holloway at UFC 251. And it wasn't just the fighters who were pissed about it. In a press conference with UFC's chief of business and lawyer Hunter Campbell and senior vice president of athlete health Jeff Nowitzki, they expressed their irritation about the lack of logic used when it came to their testing, rule changes, and revisions for their minimum thresholds for banned substances. And Jeff and Hunter were very specific that they did not like USADA testing at the picogram level. If you don't know how small a picogram is, it is 1/1,000,000th of a gram. Remember when John Jones accidentally ingested a tainted supplement and it spit out a positive test because he only had 33 picograms in his system? Because of that, they had to move an entire event to California the week of the fight because the Nevada State Athletic Commission wouldn't license John Jones to fight. And in typical USADA fashion, they ended up changing the minimum threshold to 100 picograms a year later. So it seemed like the fighters and the UFC did not like USADA specifically doing the drug test. And so this past week, USADA announced themselves that the UFC would not be renewing their contract with them for 2024. In that memo by the CEO Travis Tygart, it mentioned that Conor McGregor also re-entered the testing pool. That's definitely an announcement that a lot of fans have been waiting to hear. And the UFC along with Dana White were absolutely furious at this unplanned announcement. And the reason why might surprise you. So I covered in my Conor McGregor USADA video how I theorized that USADA wanted to uphold a 6-month rule of that you have to enter the USADA testing pool first before you could fight, as well as show that Conor McGregor was clean with 2 negative tests. But in Hunter Campbell and Jeff Nowitzki's press conference, we were told otherwise.
And what I said to Travis on multiple occasions, including the call on Monday, was there would never be a situation where Conor would fight until he'd been in the program for 6 months, and my words were, I don't give a shit if he has 37 clean tests.
So it seems as though that Travis didn't really care about the clean test. My best guess is that someone told Travis that Conor was definitely on the juice. And in that previous video, I compare Conor's body before and after UFC 264, and the differences are pretty staggering. And Travis was upset that Conor McGregor openly got around the rules, and rightfully so. He has a reputation to uphold about USADA standards and how they do their testing. USADA also has pretty strict rules for how they operate. They test from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and the visits are completely random. The issue in all of this is that the UFC keeps all the details hush-hush, so we don't really know what's going on, and we have to take the word of Jeff Nowitzki, Hunter Campbell, and Dana White as fact. Because if we look at it from an outside perspective, why wouldn't the UFC want Conor McGregor to fight in December? He is the sport of MMA and makes the UFC the most money by far. So no one knows if the UFC tried to skirt around the rules or they're actually telling the truth. And with that, Hunter Campbell and Jeff Nowitzki have announced that they're partnering up with Drug Free Sport International. They do testing for the NBA, NFL, WNBA, and NASCAR, so I assume they're pretty good at what they do. And you don't really hear athletes in those leagues complain about the drug testing as much as UFC fighters do. And it appears that Hunter, Jeff, and Dana are excited about their new partnership. Me personally, I'm just happy if the sport remains clean regardless of which anti-doping agency is responsible for the testing. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. See you in the next one. Peace.